It's human nature to want to take control of things, to see something moving and want to help it along. Take automatic doors, for instance. They're opening for you anyways, but do you really want to just push that thing, even though it might not be so good for the door? Yes, you do. So, of course, you're going to want to do this with your sewing machine too. You want to help it along. But every time I see someone helping their sewing machine by pulling that fabric through, I cringe a little inside. And it's not because I'm thinking, oh, they're doing something wrong. It's because something's going to break eventually. Now, there are people who've done it all along, nothing's ever broken, but that doesn't mean something isn't going to happen in the future. Pulling the fabric through instead of letting the machine do it itself can really cause some problems that are going to be very, very frustrating, and I want to save you that frustration. So let's look at how the different parts of the sewing machine work to understand why it is not a good idea to pull that fabric through. First of all, the sewing machine is designed to pull that fabric through all by itself. All you need to do is a little bit of steering. And how does it pull that fabric through? It uses these called the feed dogs. I've taken the presser foot off my machine here so you can see the feed dogs a little better. Right now they're sticking up and you can actually feel them. They're sticking up beyond the throat plate. Every time a machine makes a stitch, it moves the feed dogs first down, and then they come forward towards the front of the machine, and then they come up again, and then they move the fabric back. Then they go down and hide, they come up, and then they move the fabric back. In fact, it's the feed dogs that control how big your stitches are. If I make my stitch length longer, you'll be able to see that the feed dogs come a lot further forward, up, and then go further back. And that makes a larger stitch as compared to a very short stitch that looks like that. They just move a tiny bit. You also need the presser foot because the presser foot holds the fabric down against those feed dogs. Then they're able to move the fabric. Okay, so what? Why can't I pull the fabric through? I mean, I can just slide it against the feed dogs a little bit and it'll pull it a little faster. It shouldn't matter. Maybe my stitches might not be this right length, but it's not going to hurt anything, right? Let's look at this process a little closer. The feed dogs are up, they move the fabric back, and then they go underneath and the needle comes down. Is the fabric moving while the needle is down? No. If the fabric is moving, the needle is up. I'm going to show you that with the fabric. Needle goes down and the fabric stays still. When the needle is up out of the fabric, then the fabric moves. As soon as the needle is heading down again, the fabric stops. Comes up, then the fabric moves. So the feed dogs make sure that the fabric is not moving when the needle is down inside the machine. Now, obviously, the machine was designed this way, so it must be important that the fabric not be moving when the needle is down inside the machine. Why would that be? It has to do with how the machine makes a stitch. And I'm going to go real fast with this. I have a more in-depth explanation in my Master Your Machine playlist that you can check out. But for this video, we're just going to do a really quick explanation of the hook. And I use this machine here just for demos because it's much easier to see with this kind of bobbin setup, the one that's top loading bobbin. But sewing machines that have a bottom loading bobbin, like my main sewing machine here, work just the same way. It's just that the bobbin's this way instead of flat like this. A sewing machine has two threads, the top or needle thread and the bottom or bobbin thread. And it takes those two threads, so the top one here is red and the bottom is yellow, and it interlocks them in between. That's how the stitch is made. I've got another video on tension that explains this in a little more depth, but we're going to watch here to see how the machine is interlocking those threads. So the needle comes down with its top thread and it goes down inside the machine, and there's something right there that happens at the needle, right there, where the machine catches that top thread and brings it around the whole bobbin. And that's how it then interlocks the two threads. You can see here that this little point here, that's called the hook. That is what is grabbing the thread behind the needle. The hook is very small and the needle is very small, and they have to come right next to each other in order for the hook to be able to grab that thread from behind the needle. Showing you how close that hook and needle are is a little easier on my main machine here. Right here, the needle is going to go down into the machine, and then on the way back up again, the hook comes right back behind the needle, right there. Right there is the little hook point right behind the needle. And you can see they're touching because if I try to push this back, it actually pushes the hook back. They're actually touching. They can't be too far away. If like the needle was this far away from the hook might not be able to catch the thread. If the needle is being pushed this way towards the hook, as those two meet, they may actually collide and either break the tip of the hook or the needle. You got it, right? The needle comes down and the hook has to come right next to the needle in order to catch that thread in order to make a stitch. What does that have to do with pulling your fabric? Well, let's pull some fabric. Okay, the needle comes down, goes down into the fabric. If I'm pulling on the fabric, I can actually move the needle out of place. And that amount of movement is enough that either it's going to be too far away from the hook and you'll get skipped stitches, or it's going to be too close to the hook and the two are going to hit each other, causing a broken needle or worse, something wrong with your hook. Remember, the machine moves the fabric by itself and it doesn't move the fabric when the needle is down inside. It only moves the fabric when the needle is up. So if you pull on that fabric, either pulling it through from the back, pulling it faster through, or even trying to make it go slower by pulling from the front, either way, you're working against your machine. And when you work against a machine, eventually things break. Those automatic doors actually aren't designed for us to push through them. Eventually they break. Our job is just to guide the fabric. The more you work with your machine, the better it will work for you and the less frustration you will have. If you'd like to learn more about how your machine works, you can check out my playlist, Master Your Machine. Just remember, you're supposed to be happy sewing.